I was proud of my son for punching his best friend. I was enjoying a quiet night at home since my son was spending the night at his best friend's house. Right before I was about to play my favorite show, my phone rang and I realized it was the kid's mother. I frowned. Did something happen to my son? I answered the call after the second ring. Hello? Dave? Mrs. Markham said through the speaker. There was a touch of anger in her voice, but it was obvious she was trying to stay calm. I need you to pick up your son. My frown deepened. Why? What happened? He punched James in the face, she answered. My heart dropped into my stomach as surprise washed over me. I immediately dropped my bowl of popcorn on the couch, not caring that it tipped over and got everywhere. My show was still playing and I ignored it completely as I pulled on my shoes, grabbed my wallet and keys and hopped into my car, peeling out of the driveway. I'm on my way, I said in a clipped voice, hanging up the phone and tossing it on the passenger seat. I was pissed, but not really at my son. I raised him not to raise his hands to anyone unless they truly deserved it, like if he needed to defend himself or someone else. It made me wonder what pushed him into that. My tires squealed as I pulled to a stop against the curb in front of the Markham's house. Jogging up the front steps to the porch, I banged my fist against the door, and Mrs. Markham pulled it open instantly, like she was waiting for me at the front door. Her face was flushed red with anger as she gestured for me to come in. I don't want him around my son again, she hissed at me. If I knew what a bad kid your son was, I would never have allowed him near my James ever in the first place. I barked out a laugh, even though nothing about this was funny. My son isn't a bad kid, I snapped back. What did your son do to provoke my son? Mrs. Markham gasped in shock, hands going to her chest in horror as she stared at me. My James is a perfect angel, she said. He would never hurt a fly. She said that so earnestly that I couldn't help laughing again. Obviously, she believed James could do no wrong. She led me into the living room where my son was calmly sitting on the couch. James was sitting in a recliner, holding an ice pack to his eye that was already swelling and turning black. I hurried around the couch and knelt in front of my son, checking him over for any injuries. He seemed perfectly fine to me. What happened? I asked sternly. My son had tears in his eyes, which never happened. I haven't seen him cry in ages. I didn't mean to, he said in a small voice, shoulders hunched to appear smaller than he was. I just couldn't stand hearing him talk to his little sister like that. Then he pushed her and she did nothing to him. If I had a sibling, I'd protect them, not bully them. She's only 5, Dad. He shook his head in disgust, staring at James. I don't want to be his friend anymore. I nodded slowly before turning to Mrs. Markham. My boy won't be coming over here anymore, I said coldly. She nodded in triumph. Because he hurt my poor angel. No, because your angel is a bully who hurt his sister. I don't want my son around that bad influence. She gasped again. He wouldn't hurt my baby, she exclaimed. Well, my son wouldn't lie, I snapped. My son calmly stood and turned to face Mrs. Markham. Look under her shirt, he said in a challenging tone. You'll see the mark on her stomach from where James shoved her into the door when she just wanted to play with us outside. He's a bully, so I punched him to get him to stop. Mrs. Markham paled slightly as she turned to stare at James, who had a defiant look on his face. Without a word, she stormed down the hallway of the house into another room where we could hear the playful sounds of another child. A moment later, we heard a shriek followed by her screaming James's name. I turned to my son. Time to go, I said. We rushed out of there as if there was a fire. I told my son I was proud of him for standing up for a little girl, and then I took him for some ice cream.